people think, like they say this to me, hey man, I like my business. It's cool. I would never want to run a 1,000-person company.
Oh, yeah?
Okay, let's talk about this.
Sure.
The person that says I would never want to run a 1,000-person company doesn't realize that that company is a lot easier to run than your current company.
Oh, shit.
What?
What?
You're telling me a $50 million a year company is easier to run than a $500,000 a year company by a factor of 100?
Wow.
Because honestly, at that level, you can decide if you want to be an owner and you don't have to run anything. Mm-hmm. And you can, if you want to build the skills and invest in yourself, learn how to be an owner. And that is different than an operator. Dude, I started a company just now, again, top down. First hire was an operator. Like, I don't need to build that business. I can hire the person that's done it for 27 years.
God. Yeah, I love all of this, man. And you're hitting me between the eyes. And I love talking about it on the podcast because this podcast is a live documentation of me from, like, I started this show 2.5 years ago when I was working a corporate job. And now it's just like, now I've got to the 7-figure mark and now it's my documentation to $10 million a year. So it's just like, it's really cool to be able to have like almost like these live coaching sessions. So I'll speak for the people that are listening right now, like where I'm getting stuck up, because you just said something that hit me between the eyes. You said you can either get over your belief that nobody can do this besides me, or you can be, okay, this is going to be the same forever. So it's like, this is a wall that you cannot go through. You have to like break through this belief and get around it. So for us, your replacement ladder, I really want to get into that in detail. It's administrative, then delivery, then marketing, then sales, then leadership. Admin is easy. I think anybody from the most part, like virtual assistant, book calendar, pay invoices, that type of stuff. Delivery is like your product, client success manager. We got that covered. She's a rock star. And then on top of that is marketing and sales. That's where we're at right now. Because when you're really good at something, it becomes increasingly more difficult for you to be like, if this is something that I'm not like strong at, I could easily give it away. But I'm like, man, I love marketing. I love sales. But it's now to the point where I can't be doing that and still working on the business. I'm working too much in the business. So marketing and sales is where I'm stuck right now. And then it goes into leadership. So that's where I'm at currently in my business, because we're about $1 million a year. So kind of where you were. And now I'm just like, okay, now how do I delegate marketing and sales? Because now you're replacing yourself with sometimes more expensive talent than you're used to. And that's the problem that everyone runs into eventually is, I need this $100,000 or $200,000 a year person. How the hell do I afford them? So can you kind of walk me through this right now? Because this is something that I'm going through, and I think a lot of people that are listening are as well.
Yeah, I mean, first off, let's talk about deploying dollars to buy back results. Mm-hmm. That's all. Like anytime it's hiring. And then the question, if we just kind of like reduce it to the essence of your question is, I have a fear around making a bigger bet than ones I've made in the past. Mm-hmm. Right? But what people forget as they grow, if you're at $1 million in revenue, then your old bets that felt big are smaller because your revenue is bigger. So technically it's the same bet. Yeah. You're still using absolute, the dollar.
Zeros.
Yes, instead of percentages. Right? Yeah. And then we say, okay, well, let's say the person costs $100,000 a year, but they unlock the ability for us to make $3 million a year. So how many $3 million wire transfers will you accept from me that you pay $100,000? So imagine I have a $3 million in cash and I will wire it to you, and all you gotta pay me $100,000. How many of those are you gonna do?
A lot.
As many as possible. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So here's what's fascinating. Then, okay, well, what is the fear then? The fear is that I don't trust this person. I have a fear that I'm going to give this person or invest $100,000 and the wire transfer never comes back.
Yeah, we've all had that happen before.
Yeah. No, I mean, this is one of the biggest beliefs that I think entrepreneurs, and I mean different levels. You talk about levels and devils. Most businesses like have these ceilings at the first ceilings at $300K because they could never get somebody else to do anything for them. That's too much fear. The next ceiling is about $2 million. And the reason why is because they'll never allow anybody else. They can delegate, but then everybody has to report to them. They have to manage it all.
Yeah, guilty. Yeah.
Okay. And then the next ceiling is 10 million. To go from 2 to 10, you have to learn to work through people. Okay. And that is the skill. So when you think of like, how do I make a bet of $100K on a person? knowing logically, if they could do what I'm doing, they will produce themselves, me not involved, $3 million in top line revenue through their activity. Then it's to say, well, how do I support, nurture, train, hire, retain it, and invest in that person? Mm-hmm. That's leadership. That is the skill. It's not a checklist. It's not a to-do. It's like you said, for me to hire somebody that can do that over and over, I have to create an environment and situation where they would want to work for me, because if I don't, they're going to go work for somebody else that's willing to pay them $150, as they should. So my whole thing is, it's understanding the human psychology is what needs to be true for somebody to want to be on your team, not have to be on your team. See, a lot of people, that's why I don't like the word, yeah, dude, because we were talking about, or before we started recording, about boss, right? The word boss. Mm-hmm. Like, it connotates you have to be here, you have to listen to me.
Yeah.
I mean, none of these people have to work for Dan.
Yeah.
They could literally, go on Twitter now or Instagram and say, I used to work for Dan Martell, who wrote this book, hire me.
To that damn podcast.
They're gone. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not an idiot. Okay. They're very, very, very talented, and they're getting recruited and headhunted all the time. Mm-hmm. So then what needs to be true for them to decide to wake up to help me push and create this future is I need to create a future big enough for their dreams and goals to fit inside of.
Mm-hmm. The vision.
It has to be there. So most people, step number one is you have to have a vision that's bigger than the one you probably have, because it's not big enough for their stuff to fit inside of. Mm-hmm. Because if it's not, they'll go find the person that will tell them that story, and it's plausible. Because again, and I want them to be selfish. I want them to go like, hey, this is what I want to do in the future. And if I can't see a path for me to do that here, then why would I invest in creating that for you? Mm-hmm. So that's step one. Two is, are you investing in those people? See, a lot of people, especially in the coaches or agency owners or any business, honestly, they spend more time trying to market and sell to customers than they ever do training their team. So just think about this simple concept. Mm-hmm. I have people that work for me, okay, and they are my most important resource. I believe we build the people build the business. But when I look at my calendar, where in there do I have allocation to develop the people on my team? Yeah. So if somebody works for you and you don't work with them to create their own coaching environment, their own mastermind, their own community, you showing up and doing leadership training, here's a simple tool to do this. Ask yourself all the areas of your team that you're frustrated with. Like, make a list. What are things your team does? If just name me one thing that your team might do that you might feel like a little frustrated with. What's on that list? Top one.
Marketing.
Okay, perfect. So the team doesn't know how to market, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. Other clients have asked this question. They'll say they don't know how to ideate in meetings. They don't know how to follow up. They suck at email. They're not responsible. They're slow. They never do what they say. You know what I mean? There's a bunch of stuff. So you have a list, and your top one right now is marketing. Then my question to you is show me in your calendar where you've taught your team how to market. I already know the answer, Brian. I know.
What?
I know. It's like I have ninjas watching you.
Dude, but I'm perfect. I don't ever mess up. Dan.
It's not that you can mess up. but that's the transference, right?
Yeah.
Like, you're building a team.
That's huge.
Yeah. So like that's like all big companies do this. McDonald's has McDonald's University. Xerox has Xerox University. Like the biggest companies have the IBM way, the Dropbox way, the Shopify way. Shopify has internal executive coaching in their people team to develop their top talent. They believe in it so much, they put real dollars behind developing their people, because technically, if all people are available for the highest bidder, then if everybody's willing to pay the most, like a Google or a Facebook or an Amazon, what's the difference maker? It's the company that can get the most performance out of the person, not who can pay the most. And that typically comes from investing in them. So most CEOs do not, if at all, actually have time in their calendar to train their people. And the coaches, you guys are the worst, because I look at your calendar and you got 25 hours in your calendar of coaching your clients.
Yeah.
Where are you coaching your team? The exact, what is hilarious to me is the same thing you're doing for your clients, do it for your team and watch them thrive. I said this once to a client at events once, and she was like, she stopped and she paused. She looked at me, Brian, she goes, I don't think I like my team that much. Oh.
Uh-oh.
You don't want... She literally said, I don't want to invest in those people. Well, you got a problem with your people. Like, you imagine getting to a place where you've hired a bunch of people that can do the work, but they're frustrating you. And I tell you, your job is to train them. And then your reaction is, I don't think that's a good use of my time. You get the wrong people.
I've heard that a lot. And also, we had I forget, it was Mark Moses. He was the CEO of CEO Coaching International. He goes, show of hands in the room. We had a room full of like 400 people. It said, show of hands, who has fired somebody too fast? Not a single hand goes up. He's like, yeah, a single hand never goes up. He's always, I should have fired that person a year ago, 2 years ago, 5 years ago. He's like, but you don't. Same applies to marriages sometimes and relationships. You're like, I know this isn't working, but I'm going to hold on for dear life, right? So, I mean, it's crazy, especially when you just like, the people that got you here are also maybe sometimes not the people that take you there.
Oh, this data's there. Yeah. Like, most people, if you're a fast growing company growing 50% per year, I think it's less than 8% of the people on your current team will be there in 3 years.
Wow.
Yeah. If you're doubling every year or growing 50% more, it is, if they are there at that pace of change, it's because you haven't really properly assessed people.